Welcome to the Broken Agenda podcast, sponsored by Laughing Rock Technology.
All kind of mixed signals there.
Wow. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Broken Agenda podcast. It is October 6th. Yes. October 6th. Yep. And this is episode, 15? It's episode whatever. It'll say it on the description.
15. We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out at some point. I am Craig Stoneha, Tyler McCulley, Jimmy Klopp, and today we're talking about conspiracy theories. And we don't show them the after when we're done with our show.
No, we're cleaned up at that point.
Yeah, so just what happens is we have a very, very formal show where we completely never, ever go off topic, and we give you all facts, and you're welcome. But then when we put the camera and the mics away, we sit around and we talk about the dumbest stuff you have ever heard in your entire life. And it makes this show look like a stroke of genius. And so we decided that we'd talk about some of that dumb stuff on the show, because why not? We're adorable, so we might as well do it.
Yeah.
So conspiracy theories. So Jimmy made a great point. We should really be going through everything we're going to cover today ahead of time to let you know what you're in for. So if you want to bail early, we get it. What do you got? Go ahead. You do this.
So I'm going to do time travel today.
And then Jimmy, or Tyler, you're going to go second?
Tyler,
I can. Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Talk about the JFK assassination.
I'm so excited for that.
Wow.
So, and I'm doing flat earthers. I love these guys.
Flat earthers.
Yeah, I get jacked up about flat earthers. They're my friends. So that's it. I mean, we're on a tight schedule here. We gotta cover some material. So
definitely.
Jimmy, man, do your thing. We're excited.
All right. So we get into some time travel here. I'm going to start off by basically talking a little bit about types of time travel, which so running down here, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different types of time travel. You got anything goes. And this is type of time travel is when you travel back and forth within historical timeline. Basically, just there are no restrictions.
No, that's like where you can fix the future by changing the past, right?
Yeah.
So this is like the Back to the Future type thing, or quantum leap. Quantum Leap.
Yeah.
For those of you that are not in your 40s or older, Quantum Leap was awesome. Go back and watch it. Scott Bakula. Yeah, greatest moment in history of television.
Okay, then we got branch reality.
Well, I just want to say before you get into that, I'm not a fan of the Quantum Leap time. That's
Quantum Leap.
Not my favorite. If there's
I
7,
remember that show. I mean, that's an older show, right? That's like
show was great. Wasn't that the one with Iggy?
Yeah, it was the guy would leap through time to change history.
Yeah, but he was stuck leaping through time.
Yeah,
he was trying to.
but that's like a 15, 20-year-old show, right?
Might be the leap home. Like wasn't that like the tagline? Like something like that. Yeah, but he had Iggy, which was his computer made out of Legos. Which apparently they thought in the future we'd make our computers out of Legos, and Iggy helped him, but Iggy kind of sucked. It was like the worst Alexa ever. Like it was like a middle-aged, like weird dude that
Iggy
was balding.
We're gonna improve Iggy. We're gonna make Alexa.
I don't understand why they didn't name Alexa Iggy to start with.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you totally jump on the Iggy bandwagon? So, go ahead. Sorry.
All right. So then we got branch reality, which changes form the past. The past don't rewrite history. They split into an alternative branch timeline. So I think this is. Have you ever watched the show Flash?
Yeah.
No.
I think it's a Netflix series.
The Flash?
Well, the Flash is a Netflix
fast
series.
guy?
Yep.
Yeah.
But I think that's what that show is based around. So as he travels back through time, like as he runs real fast, he'll go back in time. But every time he changes the timeline, and essentially he can never get back to who he really was. Every timeline and he comes back to is always different.
Well, and that's part of the multiverse. I mean, this is the constant branching of time. Every decision creates a new universe. I mean, they did that in Star Trek.
And that would kind of suck, dude, to be that, when you're time traveling and this, if this was like how it worked and you're just like trapped forever. And I mean, you never really get back to being who you are. You know what I mean? That'd be crazy.
Yeah, but I think that may be one of the only versions of time travel that even works, because it's the only one that truly deals with causality, right? Like causing issues with, like you kill your grandfather and you should never exist.
Yeah.
I mean, it's if every time you went back in time you were not even in the same universe, then you could do whatever you wanted and it would have no bearing on where you came from.
It's like a total commitment. Once you do it, that's it. You'll never ever get back to where you were. You can never find that.
It's a safe assumption that the Redskins would still win the Super Bowl that year. So you make a big bet and you're still a billionaire, so who cares? Like, it still works. I mean, yeah, fine. You might have to get a new wife and maybe your kid will never be born, but they'll still be okay in the other universe. It's going to be fine.
What were you going to say, Tyler?
I was say, isn't there something with that branch time travel where the timelines collide? Like, they don't run in parallel. They eventually reach and collide with each other.
That I've never heard.
I don't know.
I feel like I've heard that before.
You could elaborate if you know something about it.
I did.
It's long gone.
Like, you make the change, but there's still a lot of normalness between them. But the two branches, they're not running in true parallel. So the more you leap, the more they kind of veer closer to each other.
Or maybe sometimes they even intertwine for a brief moment.
What's they remerge?
They don't necessarily remerge, but everything falls apart. Like, the world just ceases to exist because time is so out of balance.
So Marty McFly ended the world.
He could, yeah. I mean, if you believe in the branch time travel.
I feel like if time travel were even possible, and that were the end result of time travel, then somebody improperly coded the universe.
I mean, it's possible.
Yeah. I mean, that seems like a mistake. Somebody, you got to debug that. That's a.
would,
everything else seems pretty well thought out. You think they'd have that one locked up tight. I don't know. That's me.
that would mean we could be living in a simulation then, right?
All right, we're getting that's getting way off track.
That's another conspiracy.
That would be another, which I would do that one too. Go ahead. So what's number 3?
All right, so time deletion. This is where the characters traveling off-world experience time moving more slowly than elsewhere in the universe, allowing them to move forward in time but not backwards.
Time dilation?
Yeah. Time. Yeah. Oh, dilate? Well, maybe I spelled it wrong. I have D-I-L-A. So deletion.
I mean, time dilation is
Is it dilation?
It's a real thing. I mean, it's all about mass and speed. So but that's true. We know that.
So we think we going with that? That's real.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's the thing. If you want to see how it works, go watch Interstellar.
Yeah.
They actually kind of nailed that pretty well. I got to give them credit.
I haven't seen that.
Sure as heck wasn't a J.J. Abrams movie. So they did it right. So okay, so that one's real. We could do it.
All right, so this always happened. That's basically that all time is fixed on a predestined loop in which the very act of time travel itself sets the events of the story in motion. So I'm not so sure, I quite get it, but it almost seems like a reset, like every time.
No, that's the idea that the universe knew you were going to travel back in time before you traveled back in time.
And then that would be.
So you traveling back in time is required for the timeline to be what it's supposed to be. You have to travel back in time.
That's the lost theorem, right? Whatever happened.
Yes.
So they traveled back, but they were the cause for the island
Yes.
skipping and all
And
that.
they had to travel back because the island had to. They're traveling back in time had to happen.
In order for everything to work.
So I don't like that one because that implies predestiny.
Mm-hmm.
So the universe has to preordain all of your actions, which I just find insulting. So,
All right, then we have seeing the future. So after seeing a vision of your fate, a character chooses to change their destiny or embrace their lot. So I guess that would be more.
seen a vision of the.
And I guess if you have a dream, that would be a sense of that type of time travel. You see whatever you are, where you're going, what you've done, and then you, okay, I'm going to continue on this road, or no, I'm changing my life.
Is that even really time travel?
No, I thought that's like.
Well, it is called seeing the future time travel.
So like
I see what
like a soothsayer, like you can see the future and then you can act on the future.
Yeah,
okay, got it. Like a
But it's not really time travel in the classical sense of the word. It's just seeing the future.
It's like time peeping.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not experiencing it.
Would that be like a what are those people you go to
Medium.
where they
Fortune teller.
A fortune teller.
Yeah.
Would that be a sense
Yeah.
of fortune telling?
So they're traveling through time on the Jersey boardwalk
Yeah.
every day for $8 a hand. Fair enough. What else you got?
All right, yeah, I would agree that's a good rating for that type of time travel though.
How much-
$8 an hour.
Yeah, that's about right. You're not even going anywhere. Like, not gonna get paid well for that.
And it's not like anyone could travel back in time to get their money back.
No,
anyways.
exactly. Yeah, but I could have foreseen that would be a waste of money. So
All right, then you got time loop, in which characters just continue to live the same all day, over and over. Groundhog Day. There's a lot of movies about that.
yeah, there is.
There's Christmas movies about that.
See, that one seems horrible to me.
It does,
Like that. That's a little.
unless
slice
you
of life.
actually figure it out, and then you can do whatever you want every day.
Yeah, but even still,
There's no repercussion.
like waking up every morning and you got to restart with everybody. Eventually, I would snap. Like I guarantee it. I got maybe 120, 130 rounds in me.
I mean, the good thing is you reset. So after you have that explosion, the next morning is back to
Yeah,
square
but then
one.
the explosion's so ungratifying when you see that person that you just took it all out on and they're perfectly happy and it's like, what was the point?
Unless
I don't
you-
even get that satisfaction.
Unless you
Nothing.
intently move on to another type of day, right? If you keep interacting with the same people and you keep trying to rehash the same day.
Oh, you're saying.
But
so,
what if you
so you
actually-
can control it and then you
Yeah.
can leave the loop?
Like, what if instead of staying home that day, you got a ticket to Iceland and you went to Iceland for the day?
If there's anything that time loop movies have taught me, the only way to get out of the loop is love.
Yeah.
That's how you get out.
I think you're right.
I'm pretty sure love gets you out of the loop.
Yeah. All right, then we got Unstuck Mind, which says characters' continuous transport through time within their body to life at a different age. So
Like Benjamin Button.
unlocked mind is like continuous transport
So you can move.
within your body, but just to a so you stay in your body, but you can just move to different parts of your life,
Okay.
like at different ages.
Okay.
But does your body ever change?
I
don't know. You're the expert.
How about the
I don't
Looper?
know.
Did you see the Looper?
No, but I heard
Okay,
of it.
so-
that was like, that's
So I don't know. Maybe
I
the
think so.
Looper is based on that because I think Bruce Willis is in that movie. I watched the trailer. I didn't watch the whole thing, but so he goes back. He becomes a. He becomes.
That's so 2010.
Look, I read most of an article online. So I'm pretty sure I got this.
I read the
So-
title.
So
I read the caption on the Facebook. It's
he apparently became an agent. Like time travel became illegal, and then he had to go back in time to kill himself.
wasn't that 12 Monkeys?
That is 12 Monkeys.
Is that 12 Monkeys?
Yeah, 12 Monkeys.
Well, I watched Looper trailers. So they must have stole the thought process,
That's Hollywood. They steal everybody's thought process.
or they duplicated it.
I mean,
I think I saw 12 Monkeys, but I can't remember.
12 Monkeys was awesome.
That was a great movie and a good TV show.
Never saw the TV show.
TV show was awesome.
Who was in the TV show?
It was not Bruce Willis. It was recent. I think it started in 2010. It was a sci-fi.
Well,
when
Bruce
sci-fi
Willis
was still
doesn't do
around.
TV.
No.
He's above all that.
I'm trying to remember what the actor's name was, but it was. I love that show.
I just saw a Bruce Willis movie a couple weeks ago, and it was the biggest steaming pile of dirt I've ever seen in my entire life. I don't know. Is he hard up for money? I don't
Probably.
know. I mean, did he evade taxes or something? Like, I don't know what's going on with Bruce, but this was like, I could have made, it was a sci-fi movie, and literally we could have made it with these 3 microphones, that camera, and like the will to use cardboard and scissors. Like it was, I don't remember what the name of it was. It's on Amazon Prime, and I walked away dumber for having seen that movie. It was terrible. So look it up. It's Bruce Willis, Amazon Prime. It's only probably one. So
There's a Netflix show called Travelers, and the time travelers come back and they actually get into people who die.
that show's pretty cool.
Yeah. And so they take over the bodies, and then I guess they have missions, right? So they have missions, but then whatever body they assume, if they assume the complications of the person. So like one of the bodies that was taken over, the guy was like a heroin addict, right? And so, but he came back and he's this crazy tech dude. So now he's doing all the tech for the team, but he's got to get these shots of heroin in order to like function. So it's like, one of the members in his team has to go out and meet with this,
Yeah, that show's pretty cool, but there's a lot of that one does you go back in time to change it, like step number 2 or whatever, and there's so many
trying to
flaws
fix
in that
stuff.
one. Yeah, because it's so many messy situations that aren't really explained very well because they
Imagine you got 100 people trying to fix things,
yes,
1,000 people.
Yeah, that
to
shit.
100,000 people.
Pretty sure there's a reason they canceled that.
What
show.
a mess.
Yeah, kind of got a little off the rails.
As if anybody knows how things should properly go.
They had an AI. We did an episode on AI. You can trust them. All hail our AI overlords.
All right, so then this last one, I'm not sure I get it. And if we would have had the computer screen, I could have linked to this and read the explanations. I only took down brief notes, but
Okay.
so this is unlocked body. So the first one was unlocked mind, meaning I guess your mind could maybe travel into different bodies, different ages of your life. This one's saying unlocked body. So your body or an object becomes physically detached from the flow of time within the surrounding universe, becoming inverted or younger. Only certain bodies or objects are unstuck from time. I don't really.
Gotcha.
So it's a similar thing of the mind of
6
what
and
we
7
just
are
talked
stupid.
about, but
Okay. I mean, yeah, it's so. All right. So you said this is those are the types.
So
of
there's
time travel.
7
so what's
types
the
of time travel.
conspiracy theory? So what?
okay. So you got you got different events that happen, right? So you have so let me talk about these locations, which I think is pretty cool. So there's the Vatican City, which was one that I found. So in the Vatican City, in the Vatican, they're saying that there's this chronovisor, and it's a time machine. What they do in the chronovisor is they go into this time machine. Now it's been said that they debunked this, that it's not true. The guy that came out and said it was in the Vatican. Then he retracted it, whatever they.
What does the chronovisor do?
Well, they go back in time to view the death of Christ. Or
why wouldn't they go back
to
in
view
time
certain
to stop the
religious
priests
events?
that were doing this stuff that got them all in trouble?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like,
Apparently,
I'm not. I mean,
they weren't thinking that far ahead.
well, can't they just go back multiple
You
times?
have to
Like,
give 'em
we're going to
time.
see Jesus today, and
Yeah.
then tomorrow we're
No.
going to stop,
Yeah, we'll-
Father Frank from doing some
yeah.
messed up stuff
We'll
in
stop the
Iowa.
birth of Father Frank, or
Yeah, like I don't know, like divide and conquer. Send a couple of guys.
so.
You've
So
got
the
'em-
Vatican apparently is involved in time travel. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, look, if you really love Vatican stories, they're involved in everything. I mean, I think just about every single, like you were saying earlier, just about every single conspiracy theory involves the Freemasons.
Yep.
Pretty sure they all involve the Vatican too.
Vatican.
At some point, they all come back. It's the axle on the wheel.
So another event that I found pretty crazy was UK city of Liverpool, right? There's time warps that happen in buildings or in particular areas, and so this guy, I think it was a police officer, this is a time warp around Bold Street shopping district, right? So this guy was in a bookstore or went into a bookstore. His wife went into a bookstore. This was 1996. So his wife went into a bookstore and he said, "Okay, well, I'm going to go down here, go to this store, and I'll be back." So when he came back, the bookstore wasn't there. It was a clothing store. And so he's like looking around, confused where to go. So he ends up going into the clothing store, and as he steps into the clothing store, it goes back to the bookstore. So apparently it was how many years ago was it? So
96,
at some
25
point,
years ago.
it was like in the 60s. They found in the 60s that store used to be a clothing store. So when he walked back in time, or when he saw it, everything was like timed.
Either in that or in the
Yeah.
60s, that dude did a lot of acid.
Yeah.
Could go,
Or he's got Alzheimer's.
or he's got Alzheimer's. I
He's st-
think we can explain this one away fairly easily.
Debunked.
Look, I've even drank enough tequila to make that happen. Actually, I drank enough tequila to go back in time. That happened once too.
So let's see. There was another event, the Moberly Jourdain incident. This is 100 years prior to John Teeter, which I'll go into in a little bit here. But so this was two academics visiting Paris. They were exploring the gardens in the Palace of Versailles, and as they walked into a courtyard,
Versailles.
did I say it wrong?
That's what he meant, but I was like,
Versailles.
It's my isosceles triangle.
It says Versailles.
I will never ever say
Versailles.
isosceles triangle again. It is now a Versosceles triangle.
Is it Versailles?
Versailles.
Right. So they walked into the garden
A lot
and
of
apparently
93
went
angles.
into this time warp. We like Let's talk more about Versailles.
I love that word. It's a great word.
There's a lot of crazy words in time travel.
They're normal words.
I just
you
don't-
you just type too fast.
I just don't know them. Who's going to take time to type them when you're going through stuff like this?
That's great.
You don't even know. I don't even believe half the stuff I wrote down here.
That's awesome.
So they wrote a book in 1911 called An Adventure on the incident. They believe they traveled back to the 1700s and identified a woman known as Marie Antoinette.
Antoinette, yeah, off with her head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing, man.
I heard she was pretty good looking. Like, they didn't save her?
No. They didn't say anything about saving her.
That's a shame.
They just met her. They watched her paint a picture in a garden.
That's the most
she was
boring use of time
painting.
travel of all time. I'm going to go back hundreds of years into the past to creepily through the bushes watch a chick who's going to have her head cut off paint a painting. And then what? They came back? Like that was
She was
their-
in traditional dress. Yeah, well, I guess they were freaked out. They came back. They went back.
Yeah, you know, you notice these stories are all before the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah, because once the internet came out, we had a full understanding of how insane people are. And these stories became like regular Facebook posts on like every day. And we were like, oh, they're not fun anymore because everybody's saying them.
Let's see. When did we start here? It's 16:29.
Yeah,
About 10 minutes.
So you got like a minute left.
Yeah, you got a minute. So
Okay.
You've got 5 seconds left.
do your Alfred Tuttle or
All right.
whatever.
So Teeter. Okay. So John Teeter was a soldier. He claimed to come from the year 2026, I believe. And I guess he was sent back in time. He became a soldier at age 13. Sent back in time to get a computer, the IBM 5100, because they needed it. It was apparently crucial to some technology they needed in the future. And then he was from, what did I say? He was from the year 2036.
I thought it was 2026. I read this
20,
before.
2036. So he appeared in a message board in 2000, I guess, as Time Traveler Zero. 1975 is when he went back to get the IBM 5100. And then he used the time machine he used is an Army model GE C204.
If you have the technology to have a time machine, what on God's green earth do you need with that IBM machine? I mean, have you ever seen one of those? I mean, I could build one out of yard tools. I mean,
Maybe something in it that was just like, essential, I mean, forgotten technology, like how, whatever, I don't know.
yeah, but he didn't go back to Atlantis. Like, he went back to 1975. We have records. Like, it was the patent office has the designs for that thing.
Ironically, they filed a patent for a time machine. I was reading through that patent. There's 2 patents for time, one for time travel and one for a time machine.
I do love the idea of time travel, although if you ever really get deep into the math behind it, you can travel forward in time using relativity, but everything I've read says traveling back in time should be mathematically impossible.
Well, you can read all about it if you go to the patents on Google. And the patents, we can put the links.
Put them in there. I want to read it.
It's the method of gravity distortion and time displacement. And if you Google that patent on time travel, just you'll actually find these 2. And then the other one is practical time travel machine. And the machine, that's where you find all the equations. It's crazy. You go down through there. I mean, there's all these crazy equations that go along with this patent.
Well, the problem is it's a lot like traveling at the speed of light. The amount of energy it would take to breach time would destroy everyone. So I think it's one of those graphs that just ramp right up. So I don't know. Maybe I kind of want to read the equations now. All right.
So yeah, I got lots more, but I think
hold
we're
on.
out of time. We got to get
Before you're
on to the
done,
other things.
I mean, do you believe in time travel? I mean, are you a conspiracy theorist? Has it happened?
I'm not so sure. I'm a little confused on how two things can be happening at one time, but I don't know what to say. I don't know that I believe in it. I believe I don't know. There's probably some possibilities. I would believe more in like you can't get back to same timelines. That seems more realistic to me. I don't know. Can you or like be like Scrooge where you travel and you can see your past, but you can't really have any
So you can
role to
view
play
the
in
past,
it.
but you can't
Yeah.
interact with it.
I mean, I don't know how time travel seems a little crazy to me. I don't know that I could, but it's interesting. Obviously, I
I'm
mean, people are
fascinated
filing patents. I mean, I'm not gonna say. I think the only thing we've ever proven is that we're always wrong, and I mean,
Amen to
today,
that, brother.
today, I mean, it's almost like we're kind of encroaching on a point where we can almost do anything. You can't rule anything out.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Would you go back in time if you could?
Absolutely.
Nice.
Yeah.
When would you go to?
Ooh.
When?
Where would you go?
When would I go to? Wow. I didn't really give that any thought.
When would you go to?
Probably the like mid 1700s.
Why?
Just to see what life was like back then.
What would you bring with you?
What if you got stuck
A
there?
gun, a modern gun.
Right?
Yeah.
It would blow their minds.
Bring an M16 with a grenade launcher.
Just kill all the deer.
You're going back in time to hunt?
No, to gain riches from selling all my deer.
I'd go back.
Oh my, you're setting up a taxidermy shop?
I would go
It's a
back.
bold plan, Cotton. I like it.
I know where I'd go back. I'd go back to the Anunnaki. See the pyramid stuff. I'd want to find out what
That'd be
happened
kind of
there.
cool.
It would enslave the crap out of you.
Yeah.
Bring a gun.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll be okay.
Grenade launcher.
Grenade something.
Bazooka. Just blow that pyramid right up.
That'd be pretty awesome.
All
What
right.
about you?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
You don't know?
You
Back
don't know
in
where you
time?
go?
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind seeing the Declaration of Independence being signed.
That'd be kind of cool. Yeah.
That'd be kind of cool. Go back, like high five Ben Franklin, kind of one of my heroes.
Yeah.
So that would be pretty awesome. I don't know. Like I love reading about history, but most history sounds pretty awful and very deadly. Like we live in such a safe time right now. Like even going back to the 20s seems like you're rolling the dice. like they had Tommy guns and crap. There's any time in the past is less safe than now. And I'm always like, unless I'm going back, I kind of want to wait to go back in time until they invented that full body shield from Stargate. Like once they have that, I'll go back and mess with everybody. I'll be like, bring it on. You can't even touch me. I got an energy force field thing going on.
Just don't go back to a time prior to heat. Like prior to heat, like when your house is heated.
You know what I'd go back to? I would want to go back and just real quick tug on the tail of a Tyrannosaurus and then zap back to now time just to mess with it. just kind of like pranking the T-Rex. Like
Go back to
run like a travel agency. That's all you do.
Go back to Antarctica where the giants are there.
Yes.
Where the giants are.
Yes, the Cyclops. All right, thank you, Jimmy. That was awesome. All right, so what are you covering?
JFK.
Oh, it's such a good one. All right, so do you want to take a break now and then get into yours, or do you want to just roll into it?
Entirely up to you.
Let's roll into it.
Roll into it?
We're on a roll. We're doing good.
Cool. All right. So JFK. Conspiracies behind JFK. The funny thing with this, maybe not funny, is there are so many different conspiracies from an inside job to aliens and they're also interconnected.
Wait, I never heard the aliens one. There's an aliens theory?
Yeah, there's at least one
Wow,
person
I've
out
never
there
heard that.
who believes it's aliens.
Why would aliens kill JFK?
Don't know.
Okay. Well, okay.
Uh,
That's awesome.
Because he probably wrote the hieroglyphics on the walls.
He was
for
probably
time travel.
He was probably punching down on the Roswell aliens.
He's probably
They had
going-
enough.
Yeah.
20 years, he wouldn't let them out. And they finally said, we got to take care of this business.
All right.
So
We're gonna figure this out by the time the show's over. Right?
it's back into the left.
I think we will.
It's back.
It's probably all gonna come back to time travel.
It always comes back to time
it
travel.
always does.
It always does. All right, so So let's get into it. So what is the theory? What is the conspiracy theory like that you think it is?
So the kind of path I followed here is Oswald was a patsy for a rogue operation in the CIA.
All right. So you think just forget the Russians, forget the mob, forget all that. So you think it was just the CIA just had enough?
Yeah, although I do really like the Russian lean and the mob lean because they're very plausible. But I think the CIA is the most plausible. Rogue operation at the CIA.
So this wasn't like the CIA didn't do it. This was a couple of shifty sons of...
It was basically some of the top leaders in the CIA decided to go off do a rogue mission, which they do. So there's no documentation of it. It's not a sanctioned mission.
Why would they kill JFK?
Bay of Pigs. He failed to support the Bay of Pigs invasion. And then with the Cuban Missile Crisis. JFK was also against escalating the conflict in Vietnam, which was a very big CIA operation.
Okay.
So those were the big three reasons. And I actually took some bullet points from a former CIA officer who laid out all the details into how it would go down, just based on his knowledge of how the CIA works and his own missions he's done, and then all the details that kind of follow. So it's not an official CIA attack, but it's a rogue operation, like I said. So, the big question is, where does Oswald come in? Because Oswald was in the book depository with a rifle and probably pulled a trigger at some point. Now, did you know he defected to Russia at one point? Okay. So that was a time where...
Well, he was part of he supported the Cubans, too.
He was very big in supporting the Cubans, especially when he came back. So he was a Marxist. He was, I believe, a former Marine. Yes. He was a Marine.
Yeah, he was.
Defected to the Soviet Union, lived over there for a few years, married a Russian woman, and then came back with very little interference. You defect, especially this time with the tensions between the U.S. and Russia. He's on someone's radar at this point.
How long was he in the military? Oswald?
I don't even know.
It wasn't long. Didn't he get dishonorably discharged?
I think he got dishonorably discharged, yeah.
Yeah, dishonorable.
Everything I read, he was not the brightest bulb.
No.
Yeah, he did not seem like he was firing on all cylinders either. Like there's stuff going on there.
Very sure of himself, though.
Yeah.
Very egotistical. Knew he was right type person. Which are all things that kind of contributed to the CIA identifying him as a potential patsy for their operation.
All right, so your take on this is the CIA was pissed at JFK. He dragged him through the mud a couple of times. They had enough. They had agendas they wanted to move forward, and he was the roadblock. So they found a guy who they could clearly pin this on and then blame Russia.
Yep.
That was unstable, was ejected from the military, that did not love America. And how'd they get him into the book repository with the right? Do you think they told him to kill the president and they just made sure it happened? Or do you think they just...
So they were aware of him coming back to the U.S., right? So he moved to Dallas. He met a gentleman named George... I got to remember how to say it. Where's his name? De Mohrenschildt. George de Mohrenschildt, who was a descendant of the Russian Empire, like royalty within the Russian Empire. So he wasn't part of the Soviet Union, but obviously had a reason to not like the Soviet Union. He was connected to the CIA, had his own handler and stuff. He was befriended by this de Mohrenschildt after he came back. At one point in time, and Oswald was convicted of this, he took a shot at General George Walker, who was a very conservative type, anti-Cuba type. And de Mohrenschildt...
Oswald did?
Oswald did. So he had planned a shooting and actually shot at not de Mohrenschildt, Walker.
That was prior to the JFK assassination?
April 1963.
Oh, he's like the perfect folder.
7 months. So having that and de Mohrenschildt being aware of it and being handled by the CIA...
Well, the fact that he missed makes the magic bullet seem far less likely.
Yeah. But those were some of the things. So he's very egotistical. He's very anti-U.S., very big into Marxism, big Cuba backer. And then he has this history of actually attempting to assassinate, gives the CIA a person that they can put a fall on because they can prove that he had done a previous assassination attempt.
Yeah, he's into this. This is his thing, right?
Okay, so I buy it all. So it was CIA agents on the Grassy Knoll, I'm assuming.
Yeah, and it depends on how you go. I mean, there's a ton of details, and it would take us hours, maybe weeks to go over this. But essentially, the way the operation apparently worked was Oswald was the last shooter. So he was supposed to be the final shooter, drop the rifle, and just leave, which is what he did, right? So he dropped the rifle, he was gone, and he didn't actually get arrested for the assassination of JFK. He got arrested because he shot an officer. He killed a police officer a few hours later. So the way this theory goes is Oswald was promised, we'll have someone who'll fly out. So he went and shot Walker, went and shot at Walker, but then vacates Dallas. He goes back to New Orleans, where he's from, meets up with a few other names. One is a gentleman he was in the Civil Air Patrol with, who was also CIA connected. And the theory that's put together is that he was in New Orleans to make anti-Cuba or pro-Cuban, anti-communist, whatever, contacts.
So most likely they were going to ghost him in New Orleans.
Essentially, they sent him there to get him away from the Walker thing long enough that it could, they wouldn't be able to tie him to that. So they gave him time, the 7 months or whatever he needed to get prepared for JFK. But he had full plans. So the critical point is for the Walker shooting, he had full plans, everything from pictures and scoping out where he was going to do the assassination to how he was getting away from the assassination if it was successful.
Okay.
In the JFK assassination, he didn't have those kinds of plans, right?
So here's a guy who plans and schemes and puts together actions and everything else, and he didn't for the largest assassination in the history of the modern world.
Yeah, so the assumption here, and it is an assumption, but I believe it's a credible assumption, is that he was given plans. So you're the last shooter, drop the rifle, leave, and we'll have a car waiting for you, and we'll get you out of the country, which was his whole goal anyways. Because in between all of this, there's also a trip to Mexico where he's trying to get out of the country, go to Cuba, Russia. But anyway, so he is the last shooter. There are shooters positioned around. Some say the Daltex building, which is, I believe, just up the road a little bit. The Grassy Knoll is another one that they discuss.
Secret Service really dropped the ball on this one.
Yeah, well, it was found by the commissions that the Secret Service did not do their job properly.
Hey, by the way, what is a book repository?
It's like, hey, you guys.
That's where all the school books would go to, like at the end of the year. I'm pretty sure that's what they were doing.
They need a building that big?
It's Texas. Yeah.
So all the school books in the state?
Like would come back. I believe that's how it worked. Or that's where they were distributing because the Texas Department of Education would send them out.
Wow. All right.
But yeah, so Oswald had this job. Some say that this DeMoran shield helped him get this job, so he was positioned properly. But
so who's Jack Ruby?
Jack Ruby, I believe, he plays more into the mob.
Yeah, he was a mob guy, right?
He was a club owner who was affiliated with the Carlos Marcello, who was the New Orleans mob boss. Which, if you really dig in deeper to these theories, the mob, the CIA, and the Cuban exiles were all working together. So the CIA had things over Ruby and used him as a means
or they're essentially one that.
Yeah.
That. What was that speech he made? When he talked about there's a creature in the dark that runs everything, and
shadow government.
The shadow government,
It's not just fear, but fear itself.
Yeah.
And bullets.
Yeah.
Come flying from multiple directions at your head.
I love the JFK assassination conspiracy theories, mostly because most conspiracy theories, I'm like, get the crap out of here. Like, what is wrong with you? That one, 100% believe it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I 100% believe that everything we've been told about that is an absolute pile of horse manure. And I think most people believe it too. And it is amazing to me that it is still unproven.
Yeah, I mean, you had the Warren Commission who disproved it, right? There was also a House Committee on Assassinations that had, I forget what I had seen, but they had essentially said that it's not unplausible. Is that the right word? Implausible? No. Implausible.
We know what you
Implausible that the CIA didn't do it. So they're essentially not saying the CIA.
Yeah, but I don't count that stuff because, look, I don't care if you say it's possible that this conspiracy theory could be true. I care that you tell me what the heck happened.
What happened?
Right. What actually happened. And nobody that's never, I mean, it's been what? It's been 60 years? 70 years?
Yeah, 70 years now.
And we really don't know any more than we did in the 70s and 80s?
Yep. Yeah, well, and I think a lot of it comes down to it was mishandling, the initial mishandling of evidence and even just the way JFK was whisked away secretly, thrown onto a plane, and his autopsy was done in the air.
It's never mishandling. Everything was handled exactly how it was supposed to be handled.
Which is what makes it.
It's
That's
just
a
like,
conspiracy theorist right there.
I mean,
like
it's
that.
exactly like what's going on today.
Just
How
the
nothing makes any sense. Everything it's all going exactly according to someone's plan. It's just not the people's plan.
Well, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, think about if this happened in modern times, where there was a cell phone with a camera in every hand.
Oh, yeah.
You'd have every angle of what happened.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
then Facebook would get a hold of it. Nobody'd believe anything anybody said.
Well, that's true, too.
Yeah, they delete all the videos.
Or they would just release all the videos at once
Yeah.
and then put a bunch of fake
Yeah.
videos on there too,
Yeah.
and it would just all look like it all argues, and there would just be a bunch of people yelling at each other.
Yeah,
and then
all
they
the
would just-
Google videos would be deleted, and
I have never in my wildest dreams did I think in the time with the most information in the history of the world we can be the dumbest human beings ever. It's like how are we getting dumber with more information? It's astounding.
conspiracies coming to you. COVID-19.
Oh,
The riots.
COVID-19. That's not a conspiracy. I can prove that crap. I was gonna do that one as my conspiracy, and I'm like, you know what? Might be too soon.
Yeah.
A little too soon. I think we're gonna lose viewers. There's certain people that are not gonna put up with that. Are you out of time?
No, there's still a few minutes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just seeing if there are any other points. So it's essentially Oswald was part of the plot, but he was not the lone person. He was literally meant to be the fall guy.
Wait, now how did Jack Ruby die? I forget.
Jack Ruby, I think, died of cancer in jail.
But he never talked.
Wait, no, that's not right.
No, wasn't he murdered?
I think he was murdered. Yeah.
He was murdered by another dude who's the first guy in the chain whose name I don't know.
Yeah.
And that was written off as something else, too. Like some sort of
Yes.
beef from way back when. And I'm like, how do you keep writing this stuff off and people just buy it? It's crazy.
Yeah, I keep picking up with it. I forget how he was killed, but yeah, there was something different.
I saw the movie of Jack Ruby, but I can't remember.
There was a movie about just Jack Ruby?
Yeah, there's a movie. Well, I don't know if it relates. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure I watched it. I just don't remember the. But there is
You watched it?
Yeah,
Your
I
hard
know there's a
facts are
movie.
amazing.
I know. I'm pretty sure there's a Jack.
Wasn't it
Ruby
just
movie.
called Ruby or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's
I think I do
like-
remember that coming out. That was a while ago,
it's-
right? Like 20 years ago or something like that. 22.
I don't think it's actually that old. I
Really?
think it's within the last 10.
I remember Rudy. That was a good movie.
Rudy, yeah.
Yeah. Got that tackled. Yay, Rudy.
Rudy.
We're all proud of Rudy. I'll tell you what, though. You know what pissed me off about Rudy? You see the picture at the end of the movie, Rudy?
Of the
Yeah.
actual Rudy guy.
He's huge.
yeah, he
Yeah.
looks completely.
Why'd they make him so
Yeah.
little? Like he was
Yeah, I
giant.
know, right?
He had sideburns that looked like they could beat me up. I'm like, why did they make him like this tiny little guy that couldn't bench press his own, like foot?
Maybe he just looked big in the picture. It probably was his sideburns just making him, giving him.
He did have very muscular sideburns. Like I feel like his sideburns could bench press more than me.
Did you find anything on the movie, Tyler? The Ruby movie?
Ruby? No, I was trying to see.
I'm gonna look it up.
What he was in like media or whatever. So I was trying to see how he died.
Well, see, I just don't understand how
I'll
Jack
look that up.
Ruby kills Lee Harvey Oswald, and then never talks about it. And then it's like
No, he died of a pulmonary embolism.
it was okay. So he did die of natural. So he just never talked.
4 years. Yeah.
Yeah, see, that's why you love the mob. They never talk.
Yeah, exactly.
They never
Yeah.
talk.
They just get giant checks for their families.
Yes, this they do. You got to give them credit. They circle those wagons hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, well played, mob. So,
That's the kind of crew I want to run with.
well, you kind of do. I mean, we're basically middle-aged drunk mob. That's what we are. With more guns, I guess. Probably have more guns on the mob between us. That's probably not healthy.
1992, Ruby.
It was like 20, 30 years ago. Yeah.
Yes, it is that old.
No, I do remember that coming out. I never saw it. Who played it? Who played Ruby? It was like Pacino or something, wasn't it?
No, I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either. I just know he was
I'm
alive.
not getting
in 92.
cooperation. I'll get back to you on that.
Okay.
I will get that information for you.
All right, so what else do we need to know about JFK? So right now, we kind of hit the main conspiracy line. That could have been the mob,
Yep.
could have been the Cubans, could have been the Russians, probably was the CIA.
Probably was the CIA.
Definitely wasn't G. Lee Harvey Oswald, which is what my history book tells me.
Right, yeah, they say lone wolf type deal. That's not the case.
Well, I mean, wasn't he a terrible marksman? I remember reading that
Well,
somewhere
that's-
where like he failed sniper school.
Yeah, he had issues with marksmanship, and even some true marksmen who tried to complete those shots, because I think they said the shots were taken between 4.8 and 7 seconds. So that's a small margin to cycle through, because this wasn't a semi-automatic rifle.
Well, no, you got to cycle, and it's a high caliber. But you're gonna have a lot of kicks, so you're gonna have to reline up
A shitty scope.
with a crappy scope. Yeah. So
there's a lot that has, and it's a moving target at 25 miles an hour at least,
and how many shots?
at most. I think they said there was 3 shots.
Well, he hit at least twice, right?
Yeah, you got hit twice.
So he's got a 66% success rate, and he was like 600 yards or something, wasn't he?
Yeah, it got
In
further
high
out.
wind. And he hit twice as a terrible marksman with a junky rifle, junky scope, high caliber manual cycle rifle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. In 7 seconds.
Yep.
I don't know why a guy's killing the president. He should be doing shows in like, Ann Arbor. I don't know where they do shows.
Annie Oakley type deal.
Yeah,
Travel the country.
like trick shots and stuff. Like that's amazing. I feel pretty confident with a rifle with a scope. And there's no way I'm making that shot.
No, absolutely not. I mean, it would take even a trained marksman, a trained sniper. That's going to be tough to do
Yeah, that's. I
at
mean,
that rate.
it wasn't quite a kilometer, but I remember reading it was close. It wasn't that far off.
Yeah.
Wow. JFK. He
Amazing
pissed
someone
off a
can
lot of
make-
people.
Can make those shots, you know.
So
Well, it's interesting because I think a lot say that modern government was bred through the JFK not continuing his presidency, the whole hardline 2-party deal,
I could see that.
where JFK he was very anti-CIA. That was the other thing, right? So he wanted to abolish the secret services, the surveillance services and that kind of stuff.
Well, that didn't work out.
No.
We got a lot of those now.
Yeah. Got all.
Did I tell you I'm a domestic terrorist now?
You are?
Yeah,
Sweet.
because I spoke at my school board meeting.
What?
Yeah, I'll have to send you the article. Yeah, the FBI is now investigating if it speaks at school board meetings.
Oh, really? You're getting investigated?
No, they haven't said anything, but they're not going to say anything. They're just going to show up.
You just wanna
Then my daughter won't have a father anymore.
They're just gonna, they're just going to investigate.
They're just going to ghost me. just no longer around.
All right, I got the.
I called my dad to tell him. I was like, "Are you proud yet, Daddy? Your son's finally a domestic terrorist. It took me 43 years, but I got there, Papa."
Come to think of it, that's a good bucket list item.
I know.
Be investigated by the FBI.
I mean, I didn't specify a list, but I just said I wanted to be on a list.
Yeah,
And I'm there.
yeah.
So
That's a good list.
it's not the best.
There
but
are worst lists to be on.
Yeah, there are.
are there?
Like Megan's list.
I mean, all right, yes, there are worse lists, but the FBI investigation list is pretty up there. That's a pretty bad list to be on.
You could be on Craigslist.
I own that. You mean my list? That's what we call it in this house.
All right, here, Ruby film, 1992. Danny Aiello as Ruby.
Oh yeah, okay.
Sherilyn Flynn as Cheryl.
We should have movie night and watch Ruby. 3 of us. All right.
Yeah,
Anything
it's
else
not
in JFK final thoughts?
No, I mean there's a lot, and you could spend weeks on it.
All right. Who do you think did it, Jimmy?
Well, I mean, I think you're on target with the CIA stuff. I mean, CIA mob. I think it was a freaking combination of the powers in control. He wasn't cooperating. He was going against the grain, and it was like,
All right, I'm going to blow your mind. I have a different theory. Squibs.
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 What's squibs?
I think JFK faked it.
He wasn't really killed.
I don't think he was dead at all. And then I think that him and Hitler lived in Brazil the rest of his life and made buddy comedies in Portuguese.
Wow.
Not 100% sure, but I've got a lot of facts.
I like it. I like it.
And they're soft facts, but they're facts.
You really have facts for that.
No,
Oh.
I have nothing. I literally just came up with that on the spot.
I like it. We should create a theory.
I feel like it would make a great
Based on that
Family Guy
information.
episode.
Yeah. we should create our own theory. On the-
we should
our own
should totally
JFK
make
theory.
our own. I've been making up lies about people for decades. It would be great to have one that's like formally recognized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That people actually take to.
Yeah. Mostly I just make them up on the spot to try to embarrass people, but
Yeah.
it'd be great if it had like an actual following.
I love the idea.
I think it'd be tough to do. I think
No, we can do it.
Yeah.
For like a new JFK theory?
Yeah, just
I think
Yeah.
everything's covered.
Think about something that's obvious that everybody agrees with,
Yeah.
and then just find some ways to talk your way around the facts of it. Like anything at all that's obvious. Like think
Yeah.
of something like hamburgers are meat.
Think about it. We're in a generation now where nothing makes sense and everybody believes it.
Absolutely, we can do this. Glass gives you cancer. You know, what else can we do? Like just anything. It doesn't matter. Like you can say anything as long as you.
say anything.
Yeah, I'll create some weird facts that go along with that.
Yeah,
Somebody will
let's-
buy in.
I think we can find some good information
Yeah.
that's been overlooked. That's
Make
what I'm thinking.
make a few fake accounts, have them comment that they really agree. Next thing you know, boom, we're off to the races. And
Time traveler comes with answers on JFK. Travels across flat Earth.
it sounded more like a movie trailer. we gotta clean it up a little bit. But let's take a break. We'll come back. We got one last conspiracy theory to do, and then we're gonna wrap this bad boy up. Thanks. I love this cast. It's great. All right, so speaking of things I love flat earthers.
Flat Earthers.
All right, so I went through a whole evolution with flat earthers. So at first I heard about it and I laughed. Like I laughed it off. And then I heard some more and I was like, these guys are really into this stuff. But I never really gave it much thought because, there's always stupid people out there doing stupid stuff. And then I saw the Netflix documentary on flat. Did anybody see that?
No,
You didn't see it either?
Nope, I didn't watch it.
Oh, it's so good.
I'm gonna watch it though.
It's so good. I'm going to talk about it a lot here because it was like a defining moment in my life.
Yeah.
So, and then I kind of got into it, not believing it, but I'm fascinated by the justifications they use. Because, all right, first of all, these people are clever. All right, don't take anything away from them. These are some smart individuals because it takes a lot of mental power to argue against established physics, and to do it in a way that you're converting. Isn't there like 20 million people they say believe in flat Earth now?
Is that what it is?
It's like the population of a state.
Well,
How insane is that?
I'm wondering if it's like Scientology, where they're like, we have 20 million, but it's just 20 guys in a room.
I don't know. It seems like there's a lot of them. They had a flat Earth convention.
I mean, that's a
couple-
lot. That's a growing population.
That's a lot of people. And don't quote me on that number, but they had a convention a couple of years ago, and they had like 30,000 people at the convention.
I'm assuming it's very few plus ones.
That might be the line of the day. Well, I will say the U.S. guy who's in charge of the U.S. Flat Earth Society lives with his mom. So,
Okay.
I mean, unless she went with him, probably you're right. Yeah, very few plus ones. But there are quite a few lady flat earthers out there. So
I'll be honest.
they don't intermingle a lot though. Like the lady flat earthers don't like to date the flat earthers, from what I hear. Like,
Really?
I don't know why that is. I think even they realize that they're weird and don't want to hitch their wagon to that trailer.
I thought that when I read about, like when I took the time to read about it, I just thought I got to hear this nonsense, and I just thought immediately I would just discount it. But it was like a lot of like,
No, it's good stuff.
as I listened to it, I was like, it's kind of like makes a little bit of sense.
Well, now, yeah,
It's
there's a couple
not,
things-
like so far fetched when you listen to what they're saying and the things that they bring up.
So 20 million and one. Are you on Team Flat Earth?
No,
But
no, I'm not.
you
I-
hesitated way too long.
No, things they say make sense. Dude, I've never like looked at the Earth from space, so I have no idea. All I'm saying is I can look up and I can see the moon, and I see the moon's round, and I guess that's the extent of it. The only reason that I know or think Earth is flat is because I was told in school. So I can't really sit here and say anything about the fact that Earth is round. I mean,
I just want to point out that every person who died at Jonestown, the cult, started with, some of the things they're saying make sense.
Here, have some juice.
I didn't think it made sense. I don't think it makes sense.
You hear that
It
shaking
just-
like that.
Put it this way. It made me say, okay, well,
This is
I
my
guess I
favorite
don't
part.
know as much as I thought I knew about stuff.
About the Earth, the flat Earth. Yeah, you
I
didn't know.
I don't think I know as much as I thought I knew about the round Earth.
No, you did not, and that's okay.
I saw pictures.
Because according to what my research,
I'll tell you what. I'm going to go fly to space and look back at the Earth, and then I'll let you know.
that's a bald-faced lie. You're not going to do any of that.
Yes, I am. I'm buying Doge, and I'm getting on.
Buying Doge.
Buying Doge, and I'm riding with Elon to put it on the moon.
All right, I'm in. I'll go with you. All right. Well, let's get into. I don't even know where to go from there. You totally threw me off. I only get 15 minutes, and I already spent 5 of it listening to Jimmy tell me the
I say
Earth's
you
flat.
take the next 15 to
All right,
get
let's
him
go.
to be a full flat earther. Convince him.
All right. I don't know if I can.
You can do
I
it.
wasn't prepared for that.
I believe in you.
I got to sell the sizzle.
Sell the sizzle.
It's not about the steak.
Is that what you said? Sell the sizzle.
You got to sell the sizzle.
Sell the sizzle.
All right. So you know how the flat Earth works, right? I mean, it makes a lot of sense.
I
Like,
mean-
you can't actually see the curvature of the Earth. I mean,
Right.
you can't see it, and I mean, and if and gravity. I mean, gravity is a problem. I mean, because gravity is all about being pulled down toward the center. But what if the flat Earth was accelerating upwards at 9.8 meters squared? So if it was always accelerating up, you'd get pushed down, and then that would explain why there's no gravity. So everything's accelerating up.
How do you explain rainbows?
Be kind of like
They're
an L.
curved.
Well, we're not anti-curve.
Hey,
I mean,
rainbow.
curves are cool. Baseballs are curved. We still support those. We're pro baseball.
No, baseballs are flat.
Are you?
That's
I
interesting.
cannot believe you're anti-baseball.
There's no
The
such
curve
thing as
of a
sphere.
rainbow
That's called
must have
frisbee, by the
something
way.
to do with it. The curve of the rainbow is an interesting thought.
All right. Well, first of all, a rainbow is a circle.
It is.
Yes. It's just the bottom half of the circle is in the Earth.
Maybe we should stick to flat Earth.
But if you look, whatever, fine. It's like, look it up.
Is that a conspiracy theory?
No, it's real.
Rainbows are
all
round.
rainbows are circles. It's just when you see them on the Earth, half of it is in the visible sphere, and the other half.
Well,
is
that
not.
would sort of indicate that the Earth is round.
Well, I'm losing
It
my
could be
argument.
a flat round.
Well, it's you're looking at it from the flat side. That's the disk. It's a disk, just like the Earth. And then if a rainbow were to lay down, it would be exactly like the Earth. Rainbows are Earths that stood up. That's all they are.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
That's how they are.
That's going in the cut.
So, I,
Got anything about unicorns?
I thought mine was going to go over the deep
I'm working
end.
on it.
I thought time travel was over the deep end.
No, we're good. We covered rainbows, so that's pretty much nailed down now. We explained that business. Glad we're doing this. All right. So first of all, if you believe flat Earth, can we all agree that NASA's a hoax?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So they did not land on the moon because obviously that crap didn't happen.
It was in the theater.
Yeah, because that's just another disk.
Yep.
Just like our disk, it just faces us. Yeah. So that's going around the flat Earth, and then the sun is a disk going around the flat Earth.
See, that wouldn't make sense because that would mean that the moon's sideways. Well, I guess it would because everybody fell off of it then.
Yeah. We didn't fall off this one. It's accelerating too. They're all hanging on. They're good.
Accelerating sideways?
Well, no, it's not.
kinda
It's
weird.
not sideways. You're looking up at
That's
it.
because the population got too heavy on the moon and it tipped
Tipped over?
up.
Just like that island at Guam.
Yeah.
Yeah. When Guam almost fell over. That was a good one. That was like, do you remember seeing that?
Yeah.
Wasn't that a sitting state senator or something?
It was a federal senator, I thought.
I think you're right. There was a federal senator that was worried that if we put too many troops on Guam, it would capsize.
Really?
I kid you not. This is
Yeah.
real stuff. Look it up. The video
it's-
clip is hysterical.
It's relatively recent, too.
It was like
within
2
the
years
last-
ago.
Yeah.
And the entire, they're in the Senate, and the entire congressional floor just kind of gets quiet. Like, do we
Did he say what we just thought he said?
do we say anything? Like, do we just let it go? We don't know what to do with this comment. Like, do we explain to him why that's not true, or just let him believe that?
Well, do we
islands
really
can flip
actually?
over?
Do we really actually know that islands aren't floating land masses?
Look, all right, flat Earth, focus.
Okay.
Focus. I mean, of course they're floating. All right, they're icebergs. So we've all agreed that NASA's a hoax.
Yep.
Clearly, we're not going around. There's no satellites. That's a hoax too.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So we know that because that's part of the flat Earth mantra. And gravity, we know, is not real because you can't explain gravity without spheres. But we do know that the flat Earth is accelerating up, which is what's causing the force down. So that's what's explaining that. We got some other stuff we got to cover though too. So there's the space is a vacuum. I do find this funny because as flat earthers, which we all are now, space being a vacuum assumes that is space up there, which we would only know if we went up there. But NASA's a hoax, so we didn't. So we're gonna have to make some assumptions on this one. But we're pretty sure that's a vacuum up there. Now we know that you can pick up like a 2,000-pound pane of glass with just a vacuum. Just get a couple of vacuums, and you can pick that bad boy right up, right? So we know how powerful a vacuum is.
Yeah.
Right? So if it was a sphere instead of a biodome that's being held in place by acceleration up, why wouldn't the vacuum of space just suck the atmosphere right off the Earth? I mean, of course, that's true. So
There's a counter vacuum.
there's
Sucking it down.
Yeah.
where's
Volcanoes.
where's
We're
volcanoes.
being
they erupt up
We're-
from the flat Earth?
Yeah, after once the other vacuum's more powerful.
we're being sucked from all sides,
Wait, now are you arguing against flat Earth?
which
now?
is making
I
us.
don't know.
You're ruining everything. You're
We
making
could be
the world
getting
worse.
sucked from all sides, which is making us stay still.
Moving on. I don't know what to say to that, so I'm just going to move on. Okay, so hold on. The other thing, just to prove flat Earth to you, and this is going to nail in the coffin here, is you can see the moon during the day and at night, sometimes in the same day. So obviously, the moon is always there because it's flat. You can see it from all points on the on the flat Earth. So that's the thing. I'm not even going to get into air temperature because that's just clearly messed up on a globe. It doesn't work. None of this works. None of the other planets around. We know that. They're all disks too.
Why would they be facing us?
Rain. It does not always rain in the cloudy weather. And sometimes when there's no clouds, it does rain. I don't know what that has to do with flat earthers, but they say that. So
Someone's watering
we're
their lawn.
like just gonna say it too. Speed of light. This is one of my favorites. We know for a fact that there is no limit to the speed of light because of ping tests on the internet are pretty quick.
Oh,
Yeah,
that makes sense.
and they're faster. They're up to 6 times faster than the speed of light.
That makes sense.
So clearly, that's a thing. Earthquakes.
And we're all flat earthers at the moment, right?
I am 100% on board with all this. All right, so forget all this. So these are all like flat earther facts. And they got a lot of them. These are like what I'm reading you right now. These are like the tenets of flat Earth. Like they get into a lot of this and they get a lot of arguments. What you got to understand though is if you want to be a true flat earther, you have to dig into some other stuff that you have to argue against as well. So first of all, Sir Isaac Newton, Einstein, a lot of these guys are all Freemasons. So we know for a fact that the Freemasons are, they're the ones trying to convince you the Earth is round, and also the speed of light thing, because Einstein proposed it, but we know now because of ping tests that that's not true. But Einstein was a Freemason, so we know that he just lied about relativity. Mm-hmm. So we can toss out all of relativity. None of that really is even.
He just did that to cover up flat Earth.
Well, he was trying to keep the people in the dark, but we figured this out on our own.
He was trying to keep them on the flat Earth.
Yeah, well, he wanted us to not realize, that we could just walk over Antarctica and fall off, because that would be just bad.
Oh yeah, he was trying to convince people Earth was round.
Look, I don't ask questions. That's just making it weird, man. I don't understand why you got to do this. But there's so much more. But I'm running out of time. So the documentary, I loved this documentary. Okay, so first of all, these guys are banana pants cuckoo crazy. Like they're just off the rails. But they're constantly doing experiments to prove that the Earth is flat. And all of their experiments fail. every single one. And sometimes they'll make up like experiments that make no sense. Like they'll put helium in a balloon and then they'll let it rise and they'll be like, see, the Earth is flat. And I'll be like, what? Well, I don't even understand what you're trying to say there because of buoyancy. The Earth is. I don't understand what you're like. First of all, you didn't need helium. You could have just made something float in water. It's the same thing as making something float in an atmosphere. But you're whatever. So they're always doing experiments. But my favorite was they went out to the Nevada desert and they got a laser because they needed a place that was flat. And they got a laser and they figured out what the curvature of the Earth, where you would have drop off based on the curvature of the Earth if the Earth was round. And then they set up targets. They perfectly leveled the laser, and they fired it at the targets. And they could not, for the life of them, figure out what they were doing wrong. The laser kept going over the targets. But at no point did they admit that it might be because the Earth is round and the target fell away. Like, it never occurred to them to come to that conclusion. They were just like, no, there's something wrong with the experiment. We're going to have to come back and do this again in like 3 years. Like, you couldn't do it tomorrow night because they couldn't, they were trying to figure out how to beat the system. So, but the best part, and this is the part that made me so happy. Well, before I even get into that, they also have a lot of artisans. And some of the coolest things I've ever seen in my life are made by flat earthers. They have a mechanical coffee table that I so desperately want to own, which is the flat earth map with a functional sun and moon that goes around the earth in perfect time with the actual sun and moon. It is amazing. And it's a coffee table. It's handcrafted. They cost like $10,000. And there's a waiting list to have this guy make them for them.
Wow.
There's a guy that makes flat earth motorcycles. And it might be the coolest motorcycle I've ever seen in my life. It's amazing. They've got...
Wow, we need to. I want to see a picture of the flat Earth motorcycle.
I'll have to find one for you. I don't even have it, but I'll find one. It was amazing. They've got flat Earth.
I'd like to have that coffee table too. I think.
I want that coffee table so bad. Even if I just
Here's
want
the
to
real
get like a flat Earth clock.
The real question: would you have coffee on it?
Oh my God, yeah. I would absolutely drink coffee off of Africa as the sun goes underneath my coffee.
I think the map is interesting. When you look at the map of how they propose the flat Earth, that's interesting.
Well, you got to give them credit. They're pretty clever about it. I mean,
and I thought, like, when you look at the Earth, are you done with all your points? Before we go into
it
discussion?
doesn't really matter. Let's talk about it.
Okay, so what I
flat
thought
Earth.
what I thought was interesting is that when you look at the globe and how the sun rotates, like, there's a lot of desert areas that don't really make sense. But when you lay the land masses flat, it actually sort of makes sense with the, you know what I mean, as far as the sun going around the equator. And
it makes sense if the Earth is.
It's like the only thing that really.
Well, the deserts aren't really driven by the sun. I mean,
yeah, but
most rainforests are on the equator,
and
that's getting a lot of sun. I mean, it's mostly driven by land formations, mountains.
Right.
You know, like,
so desert areas are. How do we explain the Great Plains? They're the entire central across the United States.
Well, you've got the Rocky Mountains, so you've got everything. All the moisture that comes off the Pacific gets funneled up the coast, which is why Seattle is just a wet, sloppy mess. Right, and right up into Canada, up into whatever that Canada part up there,
the Yukon,
whatever, Vancouver. Yeah, thank you. But that's where everything gets funneled up because the Rockies actually change the weather patterns because they actually push back against the airflow. But then you've got inside the Rockies, you've got desert, and that's some of the biggest desert in the world is to the east of the Rockies. But then you've got where the Caribbean airflow comes up, and you start getting moisture from the Atlantic rolling in through the Yucatan Peninsula. And
we really need maps right now. We should really be looking at maps. And
visualize and attack. Visualize, attack.
So we see like deciduous forest near water, and then the central United States, there's really no water, so we don't have you don't have...
The center of the United States?
Well...
Ohio is all deciduous forests. And Kentucky?
Most of the Midwest
the plains, it'd be the Midwest.
Is glacial... what is it? That's why they're so fertile. The glaciers ran through them.
Sedimentary deposits.
Yes, sedimentary. That's what I was looking for. Like, Minnesota's the land of lakes. Mm-hmm. That's Midwest, technically, right?
Well, that's carved out. And then also, you've got a lot... There was a lot of... I believe in the past, a lot of that was under ocean too.
Yeah.
So a lot of that fertility comes from,
the lack of
millions and millions of years of
salt.
Deposited biomatter makes for some great soil. But no, I mean it's all about the moisture flow. Wherever water goes, life grows. So if you've got mountains blocking the water, so even if you go over to India, you got the Himalayas. you've got rich areas where you've got runoff from the mountains, and then you've got, you go up into like Mongolia and stuff, and it's just dry as heck up in Central Asia, and that's just a lot of it's being blocked from the Pacific and the Indian Ocean. Just the moisture doesn't get there. So
I'd like to see a map. I mean, I saw this just briefly, but I didn't really like dig in and research it. But it'd be interesting to look at a map again and just really see, like, 'cause to me, when I saw the flat Earth map and the way they showed the sun making its rotation, literally was where the majority of the desert area was at.
well, if you really want to look at it that way, then there should
or
not be
dry.
some of the largest forests in the world are up towards the Arctic Circle in Russia and in North America. It's just untamed wilderness with massive trees and tons of ground cover, but that doesn't get much sun at all. Even in the summer, it doesn't get much sun. So the sun is not the driving factor. What you have convection.
Well, sun would be
Without moisture,
stunting
the sun is
stunting
destruction.
growth.
Yeah, but as long as you have moisture, you're fine. So convection happens within the atmosphere of the Earth. So the air is moving. It's just like a convection oven. If you're blowing the air around, you're going to cook everything evenly. It's the same way with the Earth. The air is moving. So you don't want to follow the sun. You want to follow the jet stream. So the multiple jet streams on the Earth, which are caused by the rotation of a spherical Earth, actually cause the air to move in a very, very consistent pattern. That's why we can predict weather. And that's what shows you where you're going to find moisture and not find moisture based on obstructions that change the jet stream.
So the Arctic in
Boom.
the north, the Arctic in the north
Science.
is the sun rolling around it, right? But Antarctica, which
It would be
is
in the
south,
center in the flat Earth.
and then Antarctica. What's that?
Yeah, flat
in
Earth
the
in the
center.
center, yeah.
And Antarctica doesn't exist in the flat Earth.
Well, it's all around the edge. The entire edge of the world is
right.
Antarctica.
Okay, so then that goes. So now if you look up a lot about Antarctica is uncharted territory where like nobody's allowed to go there. There's a lot of conspiracy theory about Antarctica.
Planes have flown over.
I say there's people who live there year round.
Well, yeah,
But there's a lot of areas in Antarctica where you're not allowed to travel. You're not allowed to travel by like government world order. Like you are not allowed to go. And did you hear about that guy that traveled? Did you hear about that guy that traveled into Antarctica? The World War II pilot traveled into Antarctica and claimed to have stumbled onto an underground world. Did you hear about that?
I feel like I should have.
Yeah, no, I feel.
So he flew over. He claimed that he was into this area. There was basically a hole, and he landed his plane. I don't know all the exact story, but he was invited down, and there's an entire civilization living in the core of the Earth in Antarctica. And if you go back to what's that? The Book of Enoch from the Bible. All the giants, the giant remains that they're finding. So the giants had supposedly inhabited Antarctica, and so there's a lot of things around Antarctica, and a very secret and a lot of compressed information about Antarctica, which sort of adds to the whole flat Earth theory.
How in the world does that add to flat Earth?
Well, I'm just what I'm saying is
because
that,
it has giants on it. It must be flat.
I don't know. It's just the way. I'm not saying it adds to. I'm just saying that the way they're trying to explain their theory, Antarctica is like right now is almost an area where people are not allowed to be.
Well, closing
So
statement.
why
here.
is that?
All I can think of when I think of the flat Earth theory is that apparently their vision of the Earth is NASCAR, and you can only go left, and you can only go left because if you go right, I guess you're in space. Is that like don't fly right?
You'd be going against traffic.
You'd be going. Like, if I was a pilot, I would just go right. I would just be like, we're doing this. Like, get some extra fuel. Let's go right. And I just want to see what happens. Like, just fly off the Earth. Just soar into. Oh, now there is another theory though. There are multiple flat Earth theories. I know we're out of time, But the theory that says you can't go right says that Antarctic is a endless plane that never ends, and it is part of the multiplane universe theory. So you can fly over Antarctica forever and never get anywhere because it goes on forever, but it ties into all the other Antarcticas for all the other world that go off into nothingness.
Or what I've heard is that there's no sun there, and so Antarctica is like sort of the boundary that holds all the water on the face of the flat Earth.
Well, yeah, it's mountains and ice. It keeps it all in. Otherwise,
Because there's no sun out there, so it just like circles around.
so I don't know. All I know is when they made Asgard on the Marvel movies, a flat Earth, it was awesome. So I like to believe that we live on Asgard.
I think I want to read more about flat Earth.
You should read more about flat Earth at your local library, because knowing is power. Go Joe. So, but that's all the time we got.
That'd be Jim. Go Jim.
Go Jim. Nice. Tyler, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Jimmy, I love you, brother. I'm Craig. We're out. See you next week.
The Broken Agenda Podcast. Sponsored by Laughing Rock Technology.